This is the time of year where a lot of people think to themselves, oh my goodness, I am so stressed out. I have to get gifts. I have to get all of this stuff ready for the kids to be able to travel. I need to do everything to prepare for the holidays. And maybe you've got family coming to your house. Well, the stressful time of year is not something, again, that you're going to be dealing with alone. We're going to be able to help you out here with Therapy Thursdays. And today we bring Jacqueline in. Jacqueline Rafter with New Insights LLC. This is a stressful time of year. I'm not alone. You're not alone in this too. This is something that really everybody deals with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even just the thought of the holidays can bring up stress for people. And so today what we're going to talk about is ways that you can decide how you're going to own your holidays. Being in charge and not letting the need to please everybody or the need to be there for everybody or the need to make sure everybody else is happy, kind of letting people do their thing and you own your holidays, being intentional about recognizing who you are, what you can and cannot offer, and what your family can and cannot offer, your time, your energy, your emotion, and just being really intentional about where you're placing these really valuable personal resources.
I think one of the things that can best help us, and this is not just for holidays in specific, but anytime you're taking a trip or you have things going on, is just creating a plan.
Yeah.
Like that's maybe a first step, right?
Mm-hmm. Make a plan so that you know what you're going to need. Make a plan so that you aren't planning too much. Make sure to plan in downtime too, and then be flexible when that plan changes. So it's like a skeleton idea of what's going to happen, but still being flexible where you know where you really need to hold to things and where you can move things around. Plan your dates, plan your shopping lists and your cards. And when you really make a plan and write things down, it does two things. It helps you to really be intentional about where you're putting that energy, time, and emotion. And it also helps you to not have to hang on to everything in your head. Because when you have to remember everything, that just adds energy to your day that you're having to spend. So making that plan and then also being flexible when it changes.
I think that, having that flexibility is so important because let's look at the time of year, right? We don't know when we're coming up with this plan if it's going to snow 3 feet or if it's going to be, inclement weather or any of this stuff. So we can't sit and dwell on that stuff, but we also have to make sure that we maybe give a little bit of cushion, a little bit of time for that flexibility. And that also means not overloading ourselves too at the same time, right?
Yep. Don't take on too much. A, it gives you room to be flexible, and B, it helps you to really, again, be intentional about what you're doing with your time over the next couple of months. I always like to really encourage people that before you agree to something, just get in the habit of taking a day or two to really think about, is this something I want to do? Is this something that we can handle as a family for myself? And so when people ask you or invite you, just get practiced and habited even all year long about saying, let me get back to you about that tomorrow. Let me get back to you about that in a couple of days. And then really take a minute to think about, is this something that I actually want to do?
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Speaking of something that you want to do, maybe this is somebody's first Thanksgiving that they're going to be hosting, and whether it be a family dynamic changes or they're saying, you know what, it's my turn. I'm taking the torch now for Thanksgiving. A lot of that can be a lot to take on too in Christmas and dealing with all of the cooking that goes along with that. It's okay to go ahead and say, you know what, maybe we divide it up and it's almost like a potluck where other people bring things, right? Not being afraid to talk to our family and friends, to have them be included in it a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Sharing that experience, sharing the responsibility, delegating helps people to feel important, helps people to feel included, really thinking about, what are people good at? What are they not good at? Asking people to volunteer, not getting offended if people don't volunteer because they're also making decisions about what they can and can't handle. Don't try to impress, just try to enjoy, right? Creating an atmosphere for people to be able to enjoy, which also means flexible, right? Being able to be flexible when things don't go perfectly. But absolutely sharing the wealth, sharing the responsibility is always a good idea.
I love the flexibility, because what I'm having in my mind right now is if I was in charge of Thanksgiving, I would have about 8 frozen pizzas in the freezer just in case I ruin the turkey, you know?
Yep, Chinese on speed dial.
That's right. Flexibility. I don't know if they make turkey pizza, but maybe, right? It's an option.
Yep.
Chicken's close. It's a close,
Mhm.
meat.
Mhm.
We have this stress. I love the fact that you said, we need to remember that we have to enjoy this. This also, not that we're, combining topics or things like that, but even looking at weddings too.
Absolutely.
And nothing's going to be perfect. It's
Mhm.
never going to be perfect. We don't live in a perfect world, right? This is where you have to just understand that, set your expectations accordingly, that we would love it to be perfect, but if it's not, so right.
And you know what? It makes it more memorable, to be honest, the things that don't go well.
Mhm.
And if you really want to impress someone, be awesome at handling it when it doesn't go well. That's
Absolutely.
usually where you do the impressing of people.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with somebody legitimately today talking about how, big of a disruption COVID was for
Mhm.
their family over last year compared to, years prior where they were going on
Mhm.
vacation. And this last year, they got to do things like go on a walk and do a picnic off of a trail, got to
Mhm.
go and do all these little things that he thought, this is just kind of a bust of a summer, right? But it's all the kids were talking about.
Mhm.
And that's something we have to realize. We have to have that kid mentality
Mhm.
sometimes and say, you know what? This actually still was really cool.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
It's that making the memories that makes such a difference. It's the memory. How often do we really remember what we got from who and when? It's really about the connections that make the difference. Um, and so really even just spending that time making sure to remember the reason, like we're here to enjoy and laugh and be together. So sometimes even going overboard it's too much.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. The little details, the things that you spend a lot of time on. Is anybody going to really notice that stuff? And is
Mhm.
that where your energy is best used? Maybe
Mhm.
not. And you talk about memories and who got what. I mean, Thanksgiving for me and my family was always about obviously joking around and having great humor and fun. But what do I really remember the most? The fact that we were throwing Auntie Bev's homemade buns across the table to each other.
Exactly.
It's like those are the things that make those memories. So we have to make sure
Mhm.
that we remember that and understand that, what, sometimes no is okay to
Mhm.
decline something and say, you know what, I can't do this, right?
Absolutely. I think sometimes we want to do everything and be included in everything and include everyone in everything. And sometimes we really have to decide, are we doing quantity or quality this year? Because you can't do both. If you're going to do a lot of things, you're going to have to do them if that's what you want to do. But recognize you're going to have to do that probably at a B plus level if you're going to do everything. If you're going to pick and just have to need to really put a lot of time and energy into things, then you're going to probably have to say no to some things so that you can put more time and energy into other things. So being intentional about deciding, what are we doing this year? Are we doing a lot of things, or are we doing a few things and putting a lot of time and energy and money into those things?
Well, and not only that too, but keeping in mind that yes, we're adding this holiday stuff too, but you still have a regular life to maintain
Yeah.
on top of that too. So
Mhm.
trying to not disrupt that routine that you have, right?
So important. Those sleeping routines. Oh my goodness. When you don't get enough sleep, you reduce how much tolerance you have, how much patience you have for your loved ones and for strangers. And so that's where anger comes in. That's where conflict comes in, because you're just not as forgiving as you normally would be. And so that's where that coming in and saying no, because I really need to keep my routine. I'm not going to have time to do that. I'm not going to have time to prepare for that. A lot of times people have trouble saying no, and it's because they're people pleasing. They're afraid the people will feel rejected, or they don't want to upset people. That's a whole different dynamic. Let's talk about those dynamics. Not being able to say no. Sometimes we have families that just, getting together with the family at all because of history can be concerning for people. So don't be afraid to say no if you feel like it's just not in your best interest, whatever it is.
I also want to throw in here.
Keeping that routine is going to be really important.
Yeah, I want to
Go
throw in
ahead.
here
Sorry.
too before. Oh, no, you're good. I want to throw in before we continue another step of this conversation is understanding the family dynamic too,
Mhm.
and understanding the difficulties that this is, a great opportunity would to be having a conversation with Jacqueline regarding how to handle situations.
Mhm.
Because I tell you what, if you've got some kind of an issue with inheritance, or if you've got an issue with somebody hosting it that didn't want to host it, or somebody else wanted it and there's an altercation there, all of these things are stressful. In-laws being too meticulous in details and
Yeah.
judging you for that, all of these things you can talk and have a conversation about.
The other thing, Matt, that I talk to people a lot about is people who are in recovery, from anything. If your family dynamics, and maybe not even intentionally, but if they are partaking in whatever you're recovering from, some people can handle these things and some people have found themselves, addicted to these things. Don't be afraid to sit this one out. COVID is still creating a lot of drama and dynamics and conflict. Be sure to just respect everybody's difference in opinions and their comfort levels. If people aren't comfortable coming, let that be okay this year. Let's not let things like that get in the way of those family connections.
I definitely
Don't be
agree.
afraid
And
to sit this one out if you need to.
yeah,
And be respectful if your family is choosing to sit it out.
I think that the information there is right on the head, and especially again, even though we're past a political election year, there's still a lot of political differences that are dividing the country, and not everybody has the same opinion. And you know what? That's okay. But you
Mhm.
have to be able to handle that situation and be able to handle when people don't agree with you, and vice versa.
Mhm.
So these are all conversations. So consulting a professional through the holiday season is incredibly helpful. And we can do that with you if we can carve out 15 minutes of our time
Mhm.
to get things started. This will be one of the best 15-minute investments that we can make in ourselves, and it doesn't cost anything, right?
Mhm. Yep. So we're all online here at New Insights. There's 3 therapists. We have men and women. We have um, lots of not lots, but we have different diversities happening. So if you have a preference for a specific um, type of person that you want to talk to, we can probably accommodate that. So we're all online. Give me a call. We can talk about these things and find you a good fit therapist that can really help you figure out how to handle and get through the holidays and address some of these things that are difficult.
Yeah. The holidays are supposed to be fun. The holidays are supposed to be a time where we can all gather together,
Mhm.
enjoy, laugh, smile. And if you're finding yourself not doing that, we need to reset, hit that reset button, start fresh. And New Insights LLC can help you
Mhm.
all with that. Jacqueline, what's the number to call again to get a hold of you?
269-325-5056.
Awesome. Jacqueline, you are awesome. I love every time that we have a conversation, because we get to discuss things, get things out there that other people are thinking, I'm sure, and we get to actually converse about it and help. So thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt.
You bet. That is Therapy Thursdays with New Insights LLC. And again, don't forget to call 325-5056.